Hey there. So I got a message from someone who wanted to know if, well, they watched the video that I made a while back on the 5x5 list. And I'll try to remember to put a link to that in the description or somewhere here on this video. But so he heard about that, and he wanted to know if it was wrong to judge someone like that, to really look at someone and really see if they have the five qualities that you want in another person, or the five deal breakers that you won't put up with in another person. And he wanted to know if it was wrong to judge someone like that, to look at someone and say, okay, yeah, this person has a sense of humor that's not really like mine, that's not compatible with mine, and I don't think I can be in a relationship with that person because of that, just as an example. And he wanted to know if that was wrong, if it was wrong to judge someone. And my answer to you is that nothing is inherently wrong or right. There are really just consequences to acting and behaving in certain ways. Obviously, I'm not recommending that you go out there and just be extremely judgmental and critical of other people, because that tends to result in isolation and people just not liking you in general. But I'm also not saying to just not judge anyone at all, because this is your life, and you're likely going to be spending some time together for a while with someone if you go into a relationship with them, at least hopefully. And you really want to know who you're getting into a relationship with. You can't really ever fully know anyone. You can't ever really fully know everything there is to know about someone. But you can generally get a good sense of who they are. And I don't think that's really being judgmental. I think that's just really recognizing who a person is, really breathing them in, and really seeing them. It doesn't necessarily have to be a judgmental thing. I think being judgmental is really more of seeing where someone's at, and then comparing that with something else and saying that they're either fundamentally right or wrong because they either conform to that or they're different from it. Like for example, if you going back to that sense of humor thing, if you're like, okay, I want someone who tells a lot of sarcastic jokes or something like that, and here's a person who doesn't do that, and I can judge them because I'm like, okay, you need to be more sarcastic. You need to have a better sense of humor. You need to have a sense of humor like me. And that, in my opinion, is what it is to be judgmental. Simply looking at someone and simply observing them and interacting with them to the point where I can say, okay, you have a sense of humor, and it's not very sarcastic. That doesn't place a judgment on them. That's just an observation. It's not saying that they're inherently right or wrong, good or bad, or anything like that, just because of who they are. It's simply recognizing who they are. And that's really what the goal is behind the 5x5 list, is to recognize where someone is, and then to compare that with what you want for yourself and a relationship. It's not to judge them and say, okay, you're right or you're wrong because you're a certain way. It's simply to look at it and say, okay, here's what I want, here's where you're at. Either we might be a good fit to be together, or we may not be a good fit to be together. But it's not to say that they're wrong just because they're not a good fit to be with you. It's not to say that they're bad because they may not be a good fit to be with you. It's just, you want something out of life. They are their own person, and sometimes they're not going to connect together. Sometimes, people are just better off not being in a relationship together for their own happiness and their own well-being and all that. So I don't think that is being judgmental. I think there's just being observant and then comparing that to what you want for yourself. It's not telling them that they're right or wrong because of who they fundamentally are, how they're acting, or anything like that. That's what I think the difference between what I'm recommending through the 5x5 list and being judgmental is. So I hope that helps you out. And if you want to learn more about how to get back together after a breakup and how to save your relationship, head on over to relationshipinnergame.com and sign up there. Thanks.